Welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the main card fights for UFC 249, Ferguson versus Gaethje. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the main card. So in our first fight, we have in the heavyweight division, Greg Hardy versus Yorgan de Castro. So look at this fight right here. Hardy is the much bigger fighter, the much more athletic fighter, and the slightly younger fighter. I think Hardy's around 32, 33, and Castro's around 35, 36. So yes, he'll have a youth advantage, he'll have a height advantage, a reach advantage, an athletic advantage, but I think Castro has the experience advantage. And Castro certainly has a good chance in this fight, but I really think Greg Hardy's last two fights have shown that he has what it takes to beat a fighter like Castro. Castro does have power, he's experienced out there, but he's on the wrong side of a lot of equations. And I think Hardy showed that he's defensively sound. He was out there with a solid fighter that was taller than him, longer than him, more experienced than him, and Volko, a much better striker than him, and a much better striker than Castro too, by far too. And he was like, he got injured in that fight and he broke an arm or something, or tore something or whatever. At one point something went on with his arm. So he was pretty much fighting with like one good arm in that fight against a high level top 5 heavyweight. And he was able to go the distance. Was it a 5-round fight? No. Was he able to really put up a good effort? No. But defensively, he was sound. And he showed that he's more composed out there. In his prior fight, he showed that he has defensive capabilities and decent footwork. So as opposed to like when he was coming up on the Contender Series and just knocking everybody out and just looking like all he was this heavy hands, he's shown that he has other abilities. So Castro's best chance is either to outvalue him, outwork him, but I just really think Hardy, with his length, his reach, athleticism, and his defense, that he can defend a lot of Castro's output and just really keep him at the distance and beat him to the punch and beat him to a relatively clear but boring decision. I don't think he'll go out there and try to go for the kill on Castro, because Castro, like I said, experience, he has some pretty good striking. He's a solid dude out there. So I think Hardy's not going to really go out there and, try to go for the kill and get caught like some of these other, like at least what Castro's last opponent did. So I think Hardy's going to pretty much fight from a distance and probably have one of those kind of fights similar to his fight prior to Volkov, but a little bit better, a little bit cleaner, but a little bit more output, but still not the most exciting fight, but a fight he needs to fight so they can get this win and get back in the win column. So I think Greg Hardy takes this one via decision. So in this fight, I have Greg Hardy via decision. Now on to our next fight we have in the featherweight division, Jeremy Stephens versus Calvin Kattar. So sometimes I say Kattar. Well, every other time I said Kattar, but I think it's Kattar, so I'm going to call him Kattar. So in this fight right here, it might seem like this and that with this fight, like seem like Kattar is so much bigger. It might seem like Kattar is so much younger and so much longer. But in reality, when you look at the stats, I think Kattar's like 1 or 2 inches taller than Stephens. Really probably like 1 inch taller than Stephens. Probably maybe 1 or 2 inch longer reach. And the age is only like a 1 year difference, because Stephens been in the game for so long, came in the game so young, that it seemed like he would be like 40 or 50, or probably 40. I'm exaggerating with the 50, but it seemed like he'll be older. But it's just that he came in the game so young so that he could have like such a long career and still be really in his prime age for most fighters. So, and he's really fighting at his prime as far as right now, as far as his success and his level of competition, where he's at or been at for these past couple 3-4 years since coming to 145. But yeah, so age is not that big a difference. Height, reach, none of that stuff is a bigger difference. But why I'm going to lean to Kattar in this one, it's not just because he's bigger or by this little bit or younger by this little bit. It's because despite them being so similar in size and frame and length and age, Kattar uses his frame much better than Stephens. He fights much longer. His jabs, he extends much more on his jab and his straight, and his punches, his selection of shots are much shorter and quicker to the point, where Stephens, a lot of stuff is winding shots. And I'm not saying that Stephens is so much less technical than Kattar. Is that Kattar in MMA at this level, it's those things, it's not those big, it's like, oh, this guy is so much better than this guy. It's not, this guy just does this one thing a little bit better than the other guy. So basically what I'm saying, the slim margins in this fight goes to Kattar. So he's, they're about the same height, same age, same reach. Kattar fights much longer, his shots are much longer, and they're much to the point, like cleaner, less wind up behind the shot, so they get from A to B quicker. They're longer, so it'll beat him in the length. He's faster than Stephens, so he'll beat him there. I think Stephens has a good chance to make this a good fight, and this will be a good fight, because Stephens is not a fighter that's going to lay down for anybody, so he's going to be in there banging. He's going to take a shot to give a shot if he needs to. He's going to try to get in. He's going to try to throw his leg. He's trying to attack the wheels of Kattar, but I think overall, Kattar going to be able to stifle Stephens a lot. I think the reach going to stifle Stephens a lot. I think the footwork going to stifle Stephens a lot. And Kattar just going to have the shorter, cleaner punches. That's going to be the case of the fight. It's going to be a fun fight, I see. Probably might steal the fight of the night, but Kattar just going to be winning the battle of the slim margins. And that's why he's going to win this one, and I think it's a decision. So in this fight, I have Calvin Kattar via decision. Now on to our next fight we have in the heavyweight division, Francis Ngannou versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. So look at this fight right here. This one I've been kind of going back and forth with because of the the technical skills of Rozenstruik on the striking aspect and Ngannou's physical aspects and what he's accomplished in the UFC, and also the freshness of Rozenstruik to the game. So I've been jumping back and forth. So I definitely think Rozenstruik has the ability to, well, let me go a little bit with the size of it. So Ngannou is definitely much bigger than Rozenstruik, definitely physically stronger than Rozenstruik. And Ngannou's like 6'4", 6'5", solid 6'4", 6'5". With Rozenstruik, kind of, he's not the buffest guy, he's not the tallest guy. He's about 6 feet 6'1". Sometimes they say he's 6'3", but he's really about 6 feet 6'1". I've seen him in person. He's not the tallest guy, not the buffest guy, but he does have the technical power, and he does have heavyweight power and heavyweight strength. But Ngannou has super heavyweight strength and super heavyweight power. But Rozenstruik's striking technique is much cleaner. I think his counter ability can definitely stifle Ngannou. We've seen him get stifled by Derek Lewis out there, and Derek Lewis just didn't really have no real counter ability. The explosiveness of, and unpredictability of Derek Lewis was able to freeze Ngannou up. And also, Ngannou's confidence was in a weird place at the time, but still, we've seen Ngannou have confidence issues out there and not be able to fire. I think a fighter with the counter ability of Rozenstruik at that level he has it at can definitely cause Ngannou to be gun shy out there. And I think that's definitely a path to victory. And then he could start pushing Ngannou. But I was going to lean to Rozenstruik. Now I was going to lean to Ngannou, but I'm going to lean to Ngannou in this one. So I just think that Ngannou has the more experience in the UFC. He's the longer, bigger guy. I think Rozenstruik can stifle him a little bit early. But I think at this point, Rozenstruik hasn't really transferred his defense over to MMA as much. Or maybe because in MMA you're wearing smaller gloves or something, so he can't defend as well. I'm not saying he can get hit the most, but getting hit by Ngannou as much as he get hit by some of these other fighters in these short exchanges is not the best case for anyone, because Ngannou hits too hard. So even the jabs, little short punches can catch you. I think in a 3-round fight with this much power and a guy giving Ngannou that much opportunity to land any type of shot can put you out. And really, when you look at Ngannou's knockouts, it's usually the punches that barely land. And so Rozenstruik can say, "Oh, I kind of roll with that shot." Even the shot you roll with can get put out by Ngannou. So I just think Rozenstruik has the technical abilities, but he's on the wrong side of the size equation. And Ngannou has experience. I think Ngannou also has that plan B. I think Rozenstruik's only path to victory is striking, whereas Ngannou can definitely mix in grappling. We have seen him train grappling. If he mixed that in, I think he could have a very easy path to victory against Rozenstruik. And I think he may mix it in. And I think, I'm going to say potential, but I'm just going to I'm going to mix it in there, but I'm still going to say Ngannou knocks him out. I think it's a competitive fight. Rozenstruik early with kind of drawing Ngannou's confidence off, but once he starts to land that jab, starts to establish his range, I think the fight starts to go for Ngannou. Then I think eventually he's able to land that big shot and set him up with a jab, then catch him with a straight. And I think he puts him out late in the second round. So in this fight, I have Francis Ngannou via second round TKO. Now to our co-main event, we have a bantamweight title fight. Henry Cejudo, Triple C versus Dominick Cruz, the GOAT of the bantamweight division. So you have a pretty big fight right here. Dominick Cruz is always coming off these long hiatus, and now he's coming off yet another long hiatus, maybe the longest of his career, but another long hiatus. He's coming to fight the champ, Henry Cejudo, who hasn't fought in a little while, but has done a lot in his recent fights. He pretty much became the champ at flyweight, beat the champ at bantamweight, then went up to bantamweight and won the bantamweight belt. So he's done a lot in a little bit of time. So he had at least kind of earned himself a vacation for this time he's been out. He hasn't been out for 2 years, and I think he's been at most a year. So he earned it in a way. So, but how I see this fight right here, style wise, Dominick Cruz has a good style to fight shorter guys. He's very long. He's probably 5'9", 5'10". Cejudo's probably one of the shortest guys he's ever fought at, probably 5'2", 5'3". Dominick Cruz has the height, the range, and he moves a lot, so that's very difficult. Not only does he already naturally have a huge height advantage, reach advantage, distance advantage, and all that stuff against shorter people, but also he moves a lot, so that's very difficult for a short person. And also he has the wrestling to mix it in. But now I'm going to kind of just go to a quick route to my prediction for this one. So you can look at the fight when Dominick Cruz fought Mighty Mouse, 5, 6, 7 years ago now, and say he was able to beat a smaller guy in Mighty Mouse, was able to throw him around. But on the feet, he struggled with Mighty Mouse. Mighty Mouse was able to rush in on him and tag him up. But every time Dominick Cruz would get tagged up, then he would go to wrestling. But he doesn't have that same path to victory against Cejudo. He'll be the longer ranger fighter, but he's not the bigger or strong fighter. He's physically taller, and he's physically the actual bantamweight or the truer bantamweight. But Cejudo has that Olympic pedigree. And those Olympic pedigree wrestlers, to be that level of wrestler, you got to be freakishly strong. It's not just skill and talent. And there's definitely skill and talent, a lot of that. A lot more so than any level of wrestling. But also, you got to be very physically strong to compete at that level. And Cejudo has shown it in the cage. He has never been the weaker guy in any cage. He's been able to manhandle everybody he's been in there with. And I think he could do the same to Cruz. Will he just be able to throw him around like easy? No, but they get in a physical exchange. Cejudo will have that all day. And also in Cruz's last fight against Faber, he wrestled Faber for about 20 seconds in that fight. And he looked kind of like fatigued a little bit after that. Like he doesn't have the ability to wrestle somebody that's going to give him some get back for a long period of time. Like he just opted out of wrestling the whole time. Like in the first round, he tried to do everything he could to Faber. Then we saw that Faber was wrestling him back, and he kind of just stood up and just disengaged. Like he don't want to wrestle you for long. He like even in the fight with TJ Dillashaw, he would go for takedowns against Dillashaw, but could not keep him down. Like he's a solid wrestler. He's solid at mixing in there, but he's not a guy that's going to want to be able to scramble with you for long periods of time. I don't think Cejudo wants to do that either, but I think Cejudo's control and grappling is much higher than Cruz, or at least better than Cruz's control with grappling, unless he's fighting a guy that's much smaller than him, or I guess he has an edge on him. He definitely doesn't have the edge in this fight, so I think Cruz has the wrestling aspect in this fight. I think he'll have the speed advantage. And I think he could definitely blitz Cruz. Cruz foot moving a lot of times. He's not on a stationary, completely stationary, because he's moving a lot, so he's going to be off balance if you rush him. I think Cejudo is very explosive and can cover that distance. Cruz's hand will be low. He'll be able to catch him with a right hand over the top. I think he'll be open for doubles. If Cejudo can put him in position with his footwork and his boxing, I think he can have open takedowns. Will he be able to get clear takedowns? But I think he'll get some takedowns early on, maybe just get points, maybe catch him with right hands. But I think over time, he'll be able to break Cruz down also with low kicks. Like, Cruz is a very talented dude, but I think at this point, kind of a little bit rusty, even though he said ring rust doesn't exist. I just feel like Cejudo will be able to catch him, will be able to tag him, will be able to get him off balance, will be able to get him, push him straight back, and really beat him with pressure and wrestling high-low, get him worry about takedowns and come over top, get him worry about overhands, get him with double legs. I do see this as a highly competitive fight, but I think the power, the pressure, and the ability, and the advantage in wrestling will be Cejudo's path to victory. All of those, not just one, but all of those factors will be Cejudo's path to victory. Competitive nonetheless, very good fight. Cruz has a good style for Cejudo, but I think Cejudo will prevail once again. So in this fight, I have Henry Cejudo via decision. Now to our main event, we have in the lightweight division, Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje. So this is a very fun fight right here. We have for the interim title, 5 rounds right here. So yeah, it's a very good fight right here. And I've already kind of broke this one down, but I'm going to get a little bit more, well, not a little bit more, I'm going to get to the point more so with this one. I'm not going to talk for 100 years about it. I'm going to get to the point with it. So Gaethje, path to victory, I see, let me just kind of backtrack a little bit. So age is not no real big difference. It's not no big significance. It's not like Ferguson is over the hill. So I'm not even going to say age is that big a factor. Really, the only kind of tell-of-the-tape factor I would say is really important is the reach of Ferguson. Ferguson's reach is about, I think he has a 5-6 inch reach over Gaethje, so that would be very important. Gaethje hasn't really had a full camp for this fight, even though it's been pushed back. It still hasn't really had a full camp. And even if he's training all the time, he hasn't really been specifically training for Ferguson this whole time. So, and even if he was, it wasn't like he knew he was going to fight Ferguson this whole time. So still not a full camp. And for a guy like Ferguson with his cardio, you're going to need as much training time as you need for that guy, because that guy works. And Gaethje's a fighter. He will go out there and fight, bite on his, go down on his shield and sword. But Ferguson, you're going to need all the training you need to deal with that marathon man. But so that's a factor. But yeah, so the Ferguson reach is a big factor. And where I see it kind of break down to where each man's path to victory are, what they can do. Ferguson has been dropped by Kevin Lee, been dropped by Pettis, been dropped by Abel Trujillo. I think that every time it's been by right hand. And Gaethje's right hand has been looking very nice in these fights. I think with how Ferguson kind of drops his hands down to throw these flurries, and he really doesn't focus too much on defense necessarily, because a lot of times he goes off volume and work rate. And just by him being confused and unorthodox and working so much, he causes you to kind of get off your guard. He causes you to, when you're doing in volume, it's hard to really time somebody. So at first, maybe when it's early on, you could drop him, but then when we start really piling up the volume and really get into his groove, it's hard to really catch him again. So I think that's why he gets dropped so much early on, because he's not into his groove yet. So I think Gaethje early on could definitely catch him with that right hand on really any point in this fight, because Ferguson's always dropped his hands, and he has been dropped by right hands, and Gaethje's one of the hardest hitters he's fought. So that's definitely a path to victory. But Gaethje is not a one-punch knockout artist. And also then Gaethje has solid wrestling. He's the better wrestler between the two. But he's not going to want to go to the ground with Ferguson. Maybe for a quick point or two, but he's not really a point fighter, so he's not going to do that. Or maybe to kind of save face. Not save face, but kind of recover. But that's going to get you submitted or hit with elbows. So really the ground is a no zone for Gaethje. He doesn't want to go there against Ferguson. So I really see this fight for Gaethje just more so of a striking fight, where it's Ferguson with all fights. It's a full fight. He can do damage on the ground, on the feet, at distance, close up. So Like I said, the right hand is a good path to victory for Gaethje. Maybe attack the legs. He has those good leg kicks, and Ferguson has had knee surgery. But still, I think what it really comes down to the fact is that Gaethje not having full camp, Ferguson's work rate, his reach, his unorthodoxness, and Gaethje's not a one-punch knockout artist. So even if he does drop Ferguson, I don't see it as a punch that's necessarily going to have the highest chance, or the him landing the clean shot, or that clean, perfect punch is going to have the best. Well, if it was a perfect punch, it might knock him out cold, but I only see not Ferguson, but I don't see Gaethje's chance of dropping him will be that shot that just puts him out completely. I see if he does hurt Ferguson, Ferguson go back to his little barrel roll again, or roll on the ground, or try to roll for a leg or something, and just recover. And Gaethje's going to let him get that recovering, like that area to recover. And even if he does again, I think Ferguson's eventually going to start, if he gets more into the fight, it's going to happen less. And I think over time, Ferguson's volume, his unorthodoxness, his wonkiness, and his cardio and work rate is going to kind of come in. I think, yes, Gaethje is a hard worker and he can go out there and fight, but few people can fight at the rate Ferguson can for as long as Ferguson can. So I think, especially when that short camp, I think Ferguson really just going to break him down over the time, probably mix it to the body, that's one of Gaethje's weaker areas. Then probably later on start going to the clinch and knee him to the body, and looking for those snap downs. And as Gaethje's body started to get attacked, or his legs start to get attacked, he's going to start to lean over, and then Ferguson's going to start going for those front headlocks. And I think later on in the fight, after a long, grueling, fun, exciting fights, maybe one of the best fights we've ever seen, I think he starts to get Gaethje to double over. I'm starting to get Gaethje to double over, and then he goes to his favorite position, that snap down jiu-jitsu, knees to the body, front headlock, snap him down, is Gaethje starts to wear down, and then he gets him in a front headlock, snap down to a Darce, and submits him in the 4th round. So in this fight, I got Tony Ferguson via 4th round submission. And that concludes my fight predictions for the main card of UFC 249, Ferguson versus Gaethje. And as always, thanks for watching.